Welcome to We Love the Hype, a podcast about advertising and PR from me, college lecturer Molly Wilkins. This podcast serves as a supplement for my classes, but is also open to the public with interviews and conversations that I hope will have engaging, enlightening, and entertaining stories about our industry. Today's conversation is with Josh Martin, currently of Papa John's, but you might know him from a very famous tweet. Here's a hint. He wasn't trying to start a roast beef. Give up? Take a listen and you'll find out what I'm talking about.
Hello.
Hey, Josh, it's Molly. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. I just dodged two of my kids apparently looking for me. I'm literally in the bottom of my closet because that's the best place to record for sound. And one child opened the door, but I guess did not see me in here, and off they went. So I have a feeling I'm going to get interrupted at some point in time.
All good.
Gotta love kids. Thank you for letting me speak with you about this. I know you get hit up all the time, but when I saw that Arby's and the tweet were mentioned in the textbook, I just couldn't help it.
That's so cool.
It's wild. Well, so before we get into that, for the sake of introducing you to students and who don't know you, you're working for Papa John's now, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I'm a director of social media and brand engagement for Papa John's. I've been there coming up on a year and a couple weeks.
So that's a very big sounding title, but what does it actually mean?
Yeah. So basically I oversee all of our content across our social channels for Papa John's. So that includes, places like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So I cover, organic, so basically non-paid work that goes across those. So kind of some of the fun social creative, and then also manage all of our paid content. So the ads that we run across all these channels to ultimately drive sales and hopefully having people go and order pizza.
Yeah. So that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot to do. Which, by the way, tell your lovely wife I'm mad at her because I got those Oreo bite things or whatever it is y'all are doing.
Oh, yeah.
And they're really good. Not so much for my waistline, though.
Yeah. Yeah, those are really popular. Yeah, and we're actually coming out with a Twix version at the end of the year. So,
damn, I didn't need to know that. It's just what it is. My kids love Papa John's. It's really easy. If I know I want to get something that they're going to actually agree on, I can just go in the app and place the order and go about my business, then pick it up, and it's usually ready pretty fast.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Yeah.
No, it's great. Did it last night, so they were very happy. Like, they are doing the whole fist pump thing when I was like, I ordered pizza. And it's frankly too hot to cook.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So, okay, so you started out, though, working you were in an ad agency, right?
Yeah. So, now obviously there's classes you can go to school, right? And
yeah.
Learn social and write and get degrees in it, which is so cool. But I kind of fell into it, right out of college. I was working at a digital ad agency at the time, and I was doing research and user experience testing when I first joined an ad agency. And I was doing a little bit of reporting at the time. This was back when Twitter was just getting going. And so we were doing some listening reports and for some of our clients. And then, I think the agency realized that, social could be a big thing. And we kind of created a separate group. I joined with this president at this agency, and we kind of created this separate group to kind of go out and create kind of like how we would go and pitch and manage social media for clients. And so it was me and like two other people that we kind of started this group within this agency, and we would actually pitch Chick-fil-A. That was kind of the first big brand I worked on.
Wow.
Was helping them with their Facebook page way back when.
And it's wild because all this came about I mean, I can remember the person who got me on Facebook was one of the 80 Pies at Mercer, who goes, you've got to get on this thing. It's going to be great. And it's just really kind of wild, I think, because the beginning of this type of industry really started when we were graduating college and has grown since then.
You used to get on Facebook. I think you had to have like a college email address, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you did. Yeah, because I remember it was a big thing when it came, at least to Mercer, because other schools had it and we didn't. And yeah, it's just wild stuff. So you would leave the ad agency from there and go to Arby's. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So I worked at an ad agency for around 3.5 years. Again, doing a lot of social for brands at the time. I was kind of really into the space. I recognized that at the time, a lot of brands were actually hiring social media managers to come and manage it for the team. So ran across Arby's, was hiring a social media manager position, kind of very new, and thought, with kind of experience I had at the ad agency and obviously the work I was doing with Chick-fil-A, thought I could be a good fit and got hired and, it was off and running from there.
So the thing that's referenced in the text, of course, is the Pharrell Williams tweet. But even before that, I seem to recall you making some headlines at Arby's involving something with basketball season. Am I remembering that correctly? Was there some NBA team or something, like you roasted somebody?
Oh, so prior to that, I think when I first got there, I think it was we didn't really have anybody managing social. So when I got there, it was really kind of a Facebook page. It was mostly employees that were on there complaining about, work
great.
And slicing roast beef and their hours. And, they had a Twitter account that was run by a PR group that maybe had 1,000 followers, but that was really it. So, the fun part of that job which I really enjoyed, was really kind of creating a strategy, building these platforms from scratch, which was really cool to kind of see it grow and evolve over time. I think when I first got there, we really, my approach was like, hey, we just need to act like a user. Like, let's act like how other users are acting on Twitter, how users are acting on, Facebook and Instagram. And so, part of that was, understanding, the creative lanes that we had as a brand. So, obviously one of our products at Arby's that people love were turnovers, the apple and cherry and chocolate turnovers. And obviously turnovers are, very popular within like basketball and football. So it gave us kind of a way to, join culturally relevant conversations and sporting events that were happening in real time. There'd be moments in football games or basketball games where we'd see like somebody have a lot of turnovers, and then we would creatively kind of come in and join those conversations to, just drive conversation and buzz at the time. But not a lot of brands were doing that. So,
right.
We were kind of able to break through a little bit.
So that really kind of also leads into the big Pharrell tweet moment. And I've heard you talk about this, and I think it was at a conference. And so I'll just let you lead into how exactly that happened, because I don't know if the text is necessarily incorrect with what they say. I don't want to necessarily call the text out, but it makes it seem like perhaps it was more planned than it was, or perhaps I'm getting that wrong. So I'll just let you go from there.
Yeah. Definitely, not necessarily planned for sure. It was those things where, like I said, this happened in 2014 and I joined the brand in 2010. So I talk a little bit about like, hey, this moment wouldn't happen if, we did things leading up to it. One of those pieces is like, having a listening program and always listening to the, what people are saying about our brand using tools. And then obviously working with, legal and brand for, when, these moments could come up, that I had the ability to make the decision to be able to post and, jump on something like this, whereas it wouldn't have to go through levels and levels of approvals, right? Now, this was at a Sunday night at like 9:00 when this happened. So I always preface that by like, this moment couldn't have happened unless, we hadn't built the structure and,
right.
3 years prior to be able to kind of, jump on something like this. I mean, this one we always talk about, always references like definitely a lightning in a bottle moment. It was, like I said, a Sunday night, and I was a one-person team at the time, so it was just myself.
Oh, God.
Running social. And, one of the things I'll often do, at night, when these moments, were happening, right? Super Bowl and Grammys and, kind of these moments where everybody's kind of watching something, happening and, tweeting at the time, I would do the same thing, just kind of, I'd have my laptop open and looking at, have a tweet deck streams of all the Arby's mentions and just paying attention, looking for any opportunity for, kind of join in. And so that's really kind of how it happened. It was, kind of early on in the night where we started to notice, a few brand mentions related to Arby's, as he did the red carpet, before the show. And so we started to pick up, I started seeing like people like saying like, oh my God, Pharrell's hat is insane. Like, what is he wearing? People are saying it looks like he has an Arby's logo on his head. And so, the tools we had were just going off of like people kind of mentioning us in relation to the Grammys. And so it was one of those things where I really didn't think much about it, to be honest. It was one of those like, oh, like we have a right to kind of join this conversation because, people are kind of seeing that, this hat is so massive and looks like an Arby's hat, which is our logo, right?
Yeah.
And so, really like didn't think much of it, like didn't put a lot of thought into it. I'm like, oh, we should, ask for a hat back. Like, and so I looked up his handle and just made sure I had his name spelled correctly. It was like 2 R's, 2 L's and just said like, hey Pharrell, can we have our hat back? Hashtag Grammys, and literally just sent it and then put my phone down. And this is kind of watching the show. The night kind of continued on. It was one of those things, like I said, perfect storm. We posted, I believe, right as, his first appearance on the show. And it was one of those things where he kept coming up because he kept winning. I think it was the year he had just a great album.
Yeah.
And he presented and he sang. So, he just kept coming up on stage. And that was like what everybody was talking about during that Grammys was just Pharrell, this hat. And like, and then from there, it kind of snowballed as the night went on, and just people kept seeing that, retweeting it, commenting. It was one of the cooler moments to see. Like at the time, like before that, Arby's like the most retweeted tweet we had was probably like in the hundreds, and like this was like going into thousands very quickly. So I was like, oh wow, and kind of got freaked out a bit because I was like,
yeah.
Oh. And kind of sent our PR person a text like, just a heads up,
this is happening.
Hope it's not a big deal. And it was one of those things where I was like, I got a little worried that like, well, hope he doesn't get offended, or upset by it, right?
Right.
It's kind of like, having fun a little bit. Obviously, not poking fun at him, but you never know how.
Right.
Obviously, there's a little risk to the moment. You just never know how celebrities could act in that moment. But as the night went on, I think he obviously won a ton of Grammys and then did, his post-show interviews and stuff. And then, I ended up staying up pretty late that night, but I probably went to bed about 1 a.m. But then obviously they're West Coast and they're going to parties and stuff. And he actually tweeted back, something fun. Like, I think he tweeted back, like, hey, Arby's, you trying to start a roast beef? So
right.
I woke up the next morning and saw that. And so like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And then kind of took it from there.
It's really just wild to me how that took off. And I think you've got a good point. I mean, that could have really gone sideways if he hadn't been on board. And it's not like there was already a prior relationship. You just kind of took a shot in the dark, and luckily it worked out. That's really interesting how that goes. And then, of course, you guys as a company ended up buying the hat, and it ended up in the museum and that type of thing. And I mean, that was a career changer for you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, right. Huge. I mean, like I said, at the time I was a team of one. Prior to those 3 years, when I came to that company, Arby's had traditionally been really behind the times in terms of like technology and like being a fast mover. I think there was an article that I read before I got there. It's like, why isn't Arby's on Twitter? Like, you know, comparing us to other QSRs about like how far behind we were in social. So to kind of like be able to catapult us into the cultural conversation that quickly was huge. You know, it put us into the kind of in the realms of the Taco Bells and the Oreos of the world, Chipotle's that do social really well. So that part was exciting. You know, after that, we had just had a new CMO join the company, I think like 2 or 3 months before that.
Oh, wow.
You know, so that was awesome to have happen, you know, right as, you know, a new leader joins the company. You know, from then on, I was able to get, you know, a larger team. You know, I was able to get 2 more people on the team. We were able to build kind of a dedicated social room within the company. You know, made my job a lot easier. You know, because, you know, Arby's is comprised of a lot of franchisees that are throughout the system, and a lot of those franchisees have been around for a long time, and they, you know, necessarily don't understand social and, you know, view, you know, TV dollars is the way to, you know, get eyeballs in terms of advertising. And, you know, obviously, you know, this showcase like, oh, wow, this is, you know, a social team could potentially do this to drive a ton of buzz for the brand. Was really cool to be a part of.
So even moving on from that, so when you have that big flash in the pan, lightning in the bottle moment, how can you set yourself up for success going forward, not just at Arby's, but even being at Papa John's and elsewhere when it comes to having big ideas and cultivating creativity? How do you do that? What do you have to have in place?
Yeah, great question. You know, I think it's a couple of things. I think it's obviously, you know, support internally, you know, within the business for social and having a team and dedicating a budget to, you know, put forward. It can often be challenging within an organizations because, you know, social is one of the things that it can be hard to prove the ROI of. Obviously something like this was very helpful, right? Because, you know, you know, we were everywhere because of this moment. But obviously there's things that, you know, smaller things that you do, like just tweeting back to people, you know, doing customer service within social. There's a lot of things that you can do within social that can benefit a brand, but it's hard to see on like a accounting sheet, right? Obviously, if you spend media, you can immediately see the return on those dollars. You know, it's a little bit of a challenge in social because, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you may necessarily don't see it immediately, but it's like a long-term benefit, I believe, of, you know, having a team, you know, dedicated to social media to respond to your customers and being able to jump on these moments that, you know, can put people or put brands top of mind in those moments. You know, at Arby's, you know, the challenge we had, I think, was, you know, people knew about Arby's, but, you know, nobody had been in a few years, right? Like, they just didn't think about it. We weren't on the radar. But, like, I strongly feel that the work we did in social, you know, helped put us in people's mindset again, just by, you know, being active. You know, after all these real-time moments, we started creating content for gamers, right? And kind of nerd culture. And, like, people are like, man, I love Arby's because they like, you know, games like me.
Right.
So we see these tweets over and over, right? And so it's one of those things that's a kind of a long-term benefit if you have, you know, a team dedicated to that. And the other part too is having a strategy, which is a little bit harder part, right? You know, developing a strategy of kind of what you're doing in social and kind of just sticking with it over time can be helpful.
So something that I know that I did in one of my PR classes last semester, which I would say probably was not very popular. I don't think the students really cared for it so much, but I felt like it replicated real world as much as at least I could do for them. How many times do you have a boss that will come and say to you, hey, I want to do something really cool on social, and then maybe just leave it at that, and then you just have to come up with something? I mean...
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, and I think after the good and bad of the moment with the Pharrell thing was that, like, you know, I think it was like, oh, like, you know, Josh and team can do this every year, right? We can bank on having this moment all the time. And I was like, well, no, it's, you know, we got really fortunate to just, we had someone in place, we had a team, and we were able to just jump on it when it came to us. I think there's a little bit of, leaders, don't understand the space and think, let's create a viral moment in social. It's that easy. And I think it's incredibly harder now.
Yeah.
Because there's so many brands in social now, right? Versus, when this moment happened almost 10 years ago.
Wild that it's almost 10 years.
So busy. It's so busy. It's so harder to break through. And brands are often, less risk averse now because they're afraid of, what, could potentially, go wrong. I think brands are a ton more cautious now than they are maybe 10 years ago. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. I think, oftentimes, I think it reverts back to like, hey, what's our strategy? What are we trying to communicate? Does it make sense for our brand to, jump into X moment, right?
Right.
Certainly, any brand could have, and they often do, right? Try to do that, could jump into these moments in pop culture. But
and goes wrong.
I'm sure you've seen some, and your students probably seen some like, wait, why did this brand do that? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, why is this brand talking about this? This makes no sense. So the smarter the brands can, build a strategy of like why they are in these conversations, and, over time, it can be helpful.
Yeah. So with Papa John's, what you're doing right now, what is your focus at the moment? What do you say? What's the brand voice for Papa John's like right now?
Yeah, great question. So, it's kind of very similar to when I joined Arby's a bit. So I joined Papa John's, like I said, a year ago. And prior to my arrival, there was really nobody in my role for most of the year prior.
Wow.
And so obviously Papa John's has gone through a little bit of transformation over the past, I'd say 3 to 4 years, right? I'm sure people may be familiar with the story of the founder and, his exit of the company, and the company has, shifted some of its resources here to Atlanta. So the marketing team is really, brand new from the past year or two.
Wow.
So a lot of the things that we've been doing the past year is kind of building process again, building a strategy. The brand has kind of moved from, a founder-led focus to now more food and food innovation, where the company had not really done that in the past from, the other competitors in the space. How does that translate into social? I think we're still trying to figure out like, what is our brand voice in social? Like, what do we stand for? I think we have some legacy marketing campaigns like Better Ingredients, Better Pizza. People know Papa John's for. And then obviously, in the past few years, we've added Shaquille O'Neal, and we've done a lot with him in social, which has been really great. And so he's been a great partner. We've been able to do some fun social pieces there. But trying to figure out like, what kind of conversations can we join? What kind of things should we join? Like, what's our tone of voice? Are we, if you look at the category, you have Little Caesars, who's kind of like the quirky value-oriented brand. And you have Domino's, who is like the innovator from a, technology perspective, right? Where they deliver you pizzas anywhere, and it's very techie focused. And then you have Pizza Hut, who's leans into nostalgia, right? From obviously the 90s, the things they do. And then you have us, which we've always been focused on quality, quality pizza, quality ingredients. But I don't think we've done enough to figure out like what's our true voice. So a lot of what we've been doing is around that. Obviously, you kind of continue to build those processes over time, but then you still want to, create great creative. So, we're still looking for obviously ways to join, conversations that are relevant to us, and obviously trying to create buzz as much as we can. But that's kind of what we've been really working on the past year, is really, kind of understanding our strategy a little bit better and refining it, and then looking for those opportunities to kind of break through with, what we want people to take away from our branding and our messaging. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point too. I mean, you talk about how, it's been a process with the, exit of the founder and whatnot, and you've been there a year. And I think that's something good to point out because it's reframing your brand and figuring out your voice. It's not something that happens quickly, especially if you're being smart and intentional about it.
Yeah, no. And obviously social is obviously one piece of that obviously the brand voice and the tone can filter into, right? Obviously there's TV creative and, you know, how we show up. A lot of things we've been doing really is trying to just, you know, we've just set out a goal to be like, we want to be the most engaging brand in the pizza category. Mm-hmm. So, we've started to obviously measure ourselves against, you know, Domino's and Pizza Hut and Little Caesars, from, you know, that perspective and what they're doing. And so we had to play a little catch up too. So, we were a little bit slow to get on TikTok as a brand over the past 2 years. So, we've spent a lot of time trying to grow that channel, and try to be more active on that channel. And then obviously with the launch of Threads.
Yep, I was going to ask about that.
We want to be a fast mover there.
Yeah.
So, I believe we were the first pizza brand to join.
Okay.
And start, posting and being active. So part of social obviously is just speed. Yeah. Like how quickly, brands can move. Because again, it's a little bit different than, when I was at Arby's 10 years ago when, there's only a few brands and, at the time brands didn't, maybe not put as much, emphasis on social, and budget. And now like a lot of brands are on their game, right? Even, big brands and even smaller brands, right? So it's harder to break through the noise and the clutter. So speed is often of, importance when you're, launching a new channel or trying to drive buzz that way.
Yeah, no, that's really important. So about Threads, what's your thoughts on Threads so far?
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm trying to think like, I've been in this industry like 15 years, I guess, give or take. And then, we haven't really, seen a buzz around a new platform in quite some time, probably maybe since TikTok, a few years ago. Right. So, that's been kind of exciting to see kind of like the excitement of a new platform that can grow super quickly. Right. Obviously there's new platforms that pop up and you have to decide whether you want to put time and effort into it. But obviously this is tied to Instagram and, I think they were able to get like 30 million users in 24 hours, which is insane. Yeah, it's wild. So, it's interesting. I mean, I like the simplicity of it so far. It reminds me of early days of Twitter. Yep. Right? When I joined very early on in Twitter, and it was exciting, right? Obviously, Twitter is going through a lot of changes on their side. But, I think they're approaching it the right way. Again, you'll see, obviously, I'm sure it changes over time. What is this platform will become. But, I like it so far. It's, we've kind of tested different things and it seems to be, super popular. I think a lot of people that enjoy Twitter really enjoy the simplistic nature of it, again, which is exciting.
So, I don't want to keep you much longer. Tell me, what is one of your favorite things that you've done so far as a social campaign for Papa John's? What's something that a student could go back and look at and go, this is a good example of what y'all have done so far?
Oh, gosh. I probably our most recent campaign that, we've done that was, a pretty massive campaign with our launch with Doritos. So we just, a few months ago, we just launched a Doritos Cool Ranch Papadilla. So whenever you can incorporate a brand like Doritos that's beloved, right, especially with a younger audience, that one was super exciting to kind of kick off in social. So we've done quite a bit. If the students go back and look of just how we launched it with in social with obviously a partner like Doritos. So from a social perspective, trying to do like co-branded posts on Instagram, right, and then trying to tease up like a build up of like, us talking to, we had some tweets where we talked back and forth with Doritos and trying to like put out there like for people to, hey, what's going on with Papa John's and Doritos, as we launched it. And then, once we launched it, we had a pretty comprehensive campaign around the idea of, the hashtag Doritos Papadilla was my idea. So we were able to work with several celebrities and influencers across TikTok and Instagram to basically create, the gist of the campaign was like, this idea was so great. Like, we wanted people to fight over who created it. So, we have like DJ Khaled saying, like,
I think I saw that. Yeah.
He did something where he said, this is my idea. And then, we were able to land Kris Jenner, which was hilarious because she's, known for coming up or taking credit for creating a lot of things, right? Her daughter's shows and things like that. So we thought that was hilarious of like, what if she like, you know, created a video saying that she created this papadilla, which is hilarious. And then, you know, I thought we did a good job of like tapping into like other TikTok influencers, some that I had no clue. Like, again, I'm obviously not in the demo, but we're targeting obviously Gen Z.
Right.
And so we worked with several popular TikTok creators, you know, across the platform to kind of create this kind of moment where, and we started to see it happen, right? We really wanted people to see like, wait, I thought DJ Khaled created this, and then no, Caleb Presley did. And so it was kind of having this fun, you know, conversations, to basically just get the word out about. Hopefully the goal of that was just to try to get people to be like, oh man, I got to try this Doritos Papadilla.
Right.
So that's been something that's been super exciting. And it's been cool to see kind of the conversations that we've seen in social around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, to close out, I know I'm going to have students who will ask this. Do you ever take internships from students?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So if they wanted to reach out, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, they can find me on LinkedIn, Josh Martin, or obviously send me an email, Josh_Martin@papajohns.com. Yeah, either of those places.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much for talking with me about this. This was really cool, and I think the students are going to learn a lot about that, and I'll have it up in public sometime a little later. It'll take me a little while to edit. You're the first one I've actually had this chance to speak with, so I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Enjoyed it.
Tell Amy I said hey.
All right, I will.
All right, thanks. Bye.
All right, bye.
Special thanks to our guest today, as well as all the sponsors for my content production. Advanced Dental Arts, Katie Berg at Mayo Hill Law, El Sombrero Restaurant on Forsyth Road in Macon, Georgia, and Triple Dot Social. You can find links to all of their websites in the show notes. Be sure to give them a visit as a thank you for their support. Show music is Drop the Tapes by Track Tribe from the YouTube Content Creator Studio. Again, my name is Molly Wilkins, and I am a lecturer in the Department of Communication at Georgia College and State University in beautiful Milledgeville, Georgia. To learn more about me, check out all my social pages with the handle LoveMollyKate, or go to HelloMollyWilkins.com. Be sure to continue to follow along with us with this inaugural season of We Love the Hype.